In the heart of Hausaland, where golden sands met the bustling markets of Zaza, modern-day Zaria, a kingdom thrived under the rule of one of Africa's most powerful dynasties. Born in 1533, Amina was the eldest daughter of Queen Bakwa Turunku, the reigning monarch of Zaza, and her father, King Nikita, a fierce warrior. From birth, Amina was destined for greatness. Her name meant, the one who leads with strength, and she would grow to embody it. Zaza was a wealthy kingdom, strategically positioned along the trans-Saharan trade routes, dealing in gold, salt, kola nuts, and slaves. Amina grew up in the luxurious mud-brick palaces of Zaza, surrounded by scholars, warriors, and merchants. Unlike most girls of her time, she was trained in warfare, politics, and diplomacy, skills reserved for princes. Her mother, Queen Bakwa, ensured she learned the art of horseback riding, archery, and sword combat from the kingdom's fiercest warriors. Amina's grandfather, King Sarkin Nohir, had expanded Zaza's borders through conquest, and whispers of war echoed in her blood. But her path to power was not guaranteed. Her younger sister, Zuria, was gentler and favored by some nobles for her diplomatic nature. Amina, however, was fearless, calculating, and ambitious. She spent her youth studying military tactics from visiting Berber traders and Songhai generals, dreaming of the day she would command armies. When Amina was 16, her father died, and her mother became the sole ruler. Queen Bakwa Turunku strengthened Zaza's economy, but Amina saw weaknesses. Neighboring states like Kano and Katsina grew bolder, raiding trade caravans. She urged her mother to fortify Zaza's defenses, but Bakwa preferred diplomacy. This tension between mother and daughter, peace and war, would shape Amina's destiny. Then, tragedy struck. In 1566, Queen Bakwa Turunku died suddenly, and the throne passed to Amina's younger sister, Queen Zuria. The nobles sighed in relief. They believed Zuria's gentle rule would bring stability. But Amina, she was not meant to stand in the shadows. Refusing to fade into obscurity, Amina took command of Zaza's cavalry, proving herself in battles against rival states. Her victories earned her the loyalty of the army, and whispers spread. Amina does not wait for a crown, she takes what is hers. But her greatest trials were yet to come. When Queen Zuria ascended the throne, she saw her sister Amina not as a loyal protector but as a threat. The nobles whispered that Amina's military ambitions would drag Zaza into endless war, and Zuria, favoring trade over bloodshed, exiled her sister from the royal court. Amina, clad in her signature iron armor, rode north with only 200 loyal warriors. She sought refuge in the Hausa city-state of Dora, where she offered her sword to King Yerima in exchange for shelter. Yerima, impressed by her skill, allowed her to train his army. For 3 years, Amina sharpened Dora's forces, leading raids against bandits and rival kingdoms. Her reputation grew. Legend spread of a woman who fought like a lioness, her curved Takuba sword glinting under the desert sun. Meanwhile, Zaza weakened. Kano, sensing Zuria's inexperience, began seizing trade routes. When news reached Amina, she saw her chance. In a daring move, Amina marched back to Zaza with Dora's warriors at her back. The people, desperate for strong leadership, flocked to her banner. Zuria, realizing she could not stop her sister, abdicated the throne. Amina did not kill her. Instead, she declared, "A queen does not murder family, she rules them." Zuria was confined to the palace, and Amina took the crown. But her true reign had only just begun. On the day of her coronation, Amina stood before the people, her spear planted in the earth, and swore, "No enemy shall sleep while Zaza wakes." The nobles expected her to marry, to choose a king. Instead, she took a lover, a warrior named Idris, but refused to share power. Not all accepted her rule. The Galadima, Zaza's highest-ranking noble, conspired with Katsina's king to overthrow her. Amina acted swiftly. At midnight, her warriors stormed the Galadima's compound. The nobleman was dragged before her, begging for mercy. "Mercy," she scoffed. "You plotted while Zaza bled." With a nod, her executioner struck. Amina replaced disloyal nobles with warriors and merchants who valued strength over tradition. She decreed that all men must learn combat, and women could inherit land. Her reforms shocked Hausaland, but none could deny, Zaza was rising. Kano had stolen Zaza's salt caravans for years. Amina vowed to break their pride. She marched with 5,000 warriors, using scorched earth tactics, burning farms, poisoning wells. Kano's king, Muhammad Kisoki, mocked her. A woman's war is fought in the kitchen. Amina responded by burning his royal granaries. For 40 days, she blockaded Kano's walls. When hunger weakened its people, she offered terms. Swear loyalty or starve. Kisoki surrendered. Amina did not enslave them. Instead, she took Kano's prince as hostage and demanded tribute in horses and iron. News of her victory spread. Katsina, Dora, even Borno sent envoys, seeking alliance or fearing conquest. Amina's empire was born. At a trade summit, Amina met Prince Karami of Nup, a scholar warrior whose poetry melted her defenses. For months, they exchanged letters, and he became her closest confidant. One night, Karami gifted her a golden goblet. As she drank, her lips burned, poison. Her guards seized him, but Karami laughed. "My king ordered your death. A woman cannot rule men." Amina, heartbroken but ruthless, sentenced him to death by the sword. As the blade fell, she whispered, "Love is a weakness I cannot afford." From that day, she vowed never to love again. The raids from Kebi warriors had grown bolder. Every full moon, they struck Zaza's borders, slaughtering villagers before vanishing like desert ghosts. Amina, pacing her war chamber, slammed her fist onto the map. "We build walls so high, no enemy will dare look upon them." To construct her legendary earthen fortifications, Amina needed Bernin Gwari's blacksmiths, master ironworkers who despised Zaza. She rode into their city alone, her royal beads traded for a disguise. The Gwari king laughed. "Why should we help you?" Amina unsheathed her dagger, and plunged it into her own palm. Blood dripped onto their sacred anvil. "This iron is now our bond. Betray it, and the gods will curse us both." Silence. Then, the clang of hammers. As the walls rose, whispers spread, the Gwari weave dark magic into the bricks. Amina ignored them, until the night her trusted general, Bello, choked to death inside the unfinished gatehouse, his throat filled with black sand. Someone had poisoned the mortar. Amina smiled. "Let them come. My walls will bury them." The Sokoto slavers arrived with chests of Moroccan gold, offering fortunes for captives. Amina's council urged acceptance. War is expensive. But Amina hesitated. Her own grandmother had been stolen by slavers. That night, a veiled woman slipped into her chambers. Maman Zaki's daughter, sold years ago, now escaped. She gripped Amina's wrist. "You fight for power, but what is power without honor?" At dawn, Amina shocked the markets. Zaza would only trade criminals, not villagers. The slavers hissed, but the people cheered, until Kano's spies spread lies. Amina hoarded slaves for herself. When a child trader's caravan was found slaughtered near Zaria, the blame fell on Amina. War drums echoed across Hausaland. 5 kingdoms united against Zaza. Their armies 70,000 strong massed at the Niger's banks. Amina's forces, 20,000. Her war chief, Dogo, paled. "We cannot win." Amina strapped on her iron-plated corset. "We don't need to win. We need them to drown." She lured the enemy onto a floating bridge of tied canoes. As the first warriors crossed, Amina's archers fired flaming arrows into the Niger's oil-slicked waters. Fire met river. Screams filled the air. Amina stood knee-deep in bloodied water, watching Kano's king float face down. But beneath her triumph, a wound. A poisoned arrow in her thigh. She pulled it out. Black veins crept up her leg. No one must know. Fever ravaged Amina's body, yet she rode to Dora's gates, demanding tribute. The king mocked her trembling hands. The mighty Amina, brought low by a scratch? With a roar, she beheaded him mid-sentence, then collapsed. In her tent, Amina summoned Zuria, her exiled sister. She pressed a blood-stained map into her hands. "The Gwari, they didn't curse my walls. I poisoned myself, to bait our enemies. Now, strike while they celebrate my death." At dawn, Amina's tent stood empty. No body, no grave, only her sword embedded in a termite mound, swarming with black scorpions. A year after Amina's disappearance, Katsina's army fled in terror, claiming they saw a woman in iron armor leading Zaza's forces under a moonless sky. Centuries later, a Fulani slave girl named Nana Asmayu would invoke Amina's name to rally warriors against colonialism. Today, in Zaria's museum, Amina's crown sits on a velvet pillow, facing north, as if waiting. Local guards swear, on stormy nights, the clank of armor echoes through empty halls. Amina's story bends history and myth. Did she die? Or did she become something more? One truth remains: no king since has dared sit upon Zaza's throne without glancing over his shoulder. The 10 most important life lessons from Amina goes does. 1. Amina didn't inherit unquestioned loyalty, she fought for it. She trained harder, strategized deeper, and proved herself in battle before her people crowned her. A title is just a word. Respect is written in blood and sweat. 2. Turn weakness into strength. Exiled and underestimated, Amina used her outsider status to build alliances and sharpen her skills in foreign lands. When they push you out the door, return through the window with an army. 3. Fear is a weapon, use it first. Her legendary earthen walls weren't just defenses, they were psychological warfare. Enemies feared what they couldn't breach. Let them whisper your name in dread before you ever draw your sword. 4. Love, but don't trust blindly. Prince Karami's betrayal taught her, affection is a vulnerability. She ruled alone afterward. A throne shared is a throne cracked. 5. Control the story or others will. When slavers smeared her name, Amina didn't just deny accusations, she rewrote the narrative by freeing captives publicly. Truth dies in silence. Speak louder than your enemies. 6. Sacrifice short-term gains for legacy. She refused to sell her people into slavery, even when Moroccan gold glittered before her. Wealth fades. Honor outlives kings. 7. The best defense is a calculated offense. At the Battle of the Niger, she didn't wait to be attacked, she lured enemies into a death trap. Strike not where they stand, but where they'll stumble. 8. Vanishing can be more powerful than dying. By disappearing without a grave, Amina became immortal in myth. Let them wonder if you're gone, or watching. 9. Prepare your successor. Even dying, Amina orchestrated Zuria's revenge, ensuring her enemies fell after her. A leader's last duty is to plant seeds they'll never see bloom. 10. Legacy, life. Today, no ruler of Zaza dares claim her throne lightly. Her spirit lingers. Kings rule decades. Legends reign centuries.
For entrepreneurs. Use Lesson 7 to dominate markets. For creators. Use Lesson 8 to master hype. For leaders. Use Lesson 9 to secure your impact.